to kayak to that little island right there. It's Indian Key Historic State Park. All the little spots are blocked off on the side of the road, so we're just trying to find a spot where we can launch. Some people said they launched at Robbie's right there. I guess that's our only option, so let's go in there and check it out. So we're gonna check out Robbie's and see if we can drop off here. If not, we'll go back. I don't know. No public launching. Why can't you launch? What's the problem? Hey, so we're trying to launch our kayaks. I read the reviews and some people say they'll launch at Robbie's. We got to Robbie's, there's a bunch of no launching, nothing like that here anymore, so I guess they stopped letting people. Before we got to Robbie's, coming from Key Largo, there's a bunch of little kind of sections around the road where you can park, but they're all blocked off right now for construction. So we can't find anywhere to park or launch our kayaks to get to the state park. Nick's trying to go talk to Robbie's. Anyway, so we're trying to figure that out. It's already 1:40 in the afternoon, so we don't have much time left to kayak there, enjoy the park, and then kayak back. It was showing that it's going to be partly cloudy, but it looks more like it's more sunny today, so that's good at least, because it's kind of sketchy going out on the water with clouds, because you never know when the thunderstorm is going to roll in, and things roll in really quick here in the islands. In Florida in general.
We're always wondering like why we can't park here or launch off here. Why don't people let it? Like, it's not a big deal. I talked to kayak people. He said they stopped letting people because someone's kayak sank. I don't know if they were when they were launching or and they tried to sue this place.
Oh wow.
Because their personal kayak sank. That's why they stopped letting people launch their own personal kayaks. And you have to rent from them. They have insurance on all of their stuff.
Yeah, I guess they ruined it for everybody.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of construction cones. Like everything's blocked off. Yeah, there are a few cars up here on the left that we're going to try to park next to and see if we can just launch. Okay, so we think this is going to be a good spot here. It's a tiny little like 5-car parking section here that hasn't been closed off yet. So hopefully if you guys choose to come here, the construction will be over and it'll be just easy to park anywhere. Because there's all of that should be open, I would think, and even on that side of the road right there. So we're just backing in to the water, and we're just gonna drop our kayaks off right here. Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and launch over here. It's not as rocky. Kayak can just slide down. Seaweed. Look at this amazing water. Rounding this corner to get around to the bridge, but look at all the clouds coming in this way, so that's kind of sketchy. We're going under the bridge. This is really sketchy. I don't know if we'll be able to go out today because the waves are pretty big and it's really windy and it looks like the clouds are moving in. I don't know if these waves are from the boat wake or from the wind. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is kind of scary. Wow. Okay, this is really bumpy today. So we decided to head back and not go to Indian Key State Park today anymore just because of that. The really high waves. I didn't feel comfortable heading out into that and going out into the middle of the Atlantic when it's kind of windy today and the waves are pretty big. Just didn't seem like a good idea. And then at 7 p.m. it's showing storms, so I feel like it could move in earlier anytime. So that kind of put me off and I just had a bad feeling about it. So we turned around this time. Right, Nick? He didn't want to turn back. He wanted to keep on going.
I'm gonna make it. I don't care.
Yeah.
If the winds are big, if it's raining or cloudy, I'm just gonna make it.
Yeah, which is not good to risk our lives like that. Okay, so we're heading out to Indian Key State Park today. Take 2. Today the waves seem a little bit calmer. There's no clouds looming overhead. A little bit over there, but I think they mostly come from this direction here, so we're gonna head out. I think we're about halfway there. That's the island. That's where we came from. Whew, kind of hard paddling against the current. We were paddling pretty hard and we just got halfway. You're not getting that far, so hopefully on the way back it'll be easier. We're almost there. Looks like there's nobody else here, no boats around the island or anything, so that's gonna be fun. We're gonna have the whole island to ourselves to explore for a little bit. That's awesome. It's a pretty tough paddle. Made it! Yay! There's nobody here. Honestly, it's a little bit creepy to pull up to this place and there's not a soul on here, but let's go.
I feel like Robinson Crusoe.
You feel like the show Lost?
Yeah, saved from the sea.
That used to be my favorite show ever. I mean, you could probably walk through here. Let me see. There's geckos everywhere. I guess you could. I think you could. Let's keep on going. Whew. This is so cool and weird at the same time. Wow. Spider. Just have to be careful and watch where you're going. Because nature is just taking over. Huh? Yeah. Can you get my water? Can you grab a water for me? Oh, this is so cool. Okay, just have to be careful so you don't injure yourself. Oh. I wonder what that bird is. Maybe some kind of hawk. Oh, okay, here's some kind of pathway. Let me go through here. Oh, that's much better. Look how pretty that looks. That's beautiful. How awesome. And there's nobody else here today. Not yet, at least. Look at that. You can see alloys, prickly pear cactus, left over from where they probably brought the plants over here, I would suspect. Look at this big one right here. It's amazing. And look at all these butterflies along this lane. It's absolutely stunning. Let's walk along here. And here's some kind of ruin. Ruins of a stone masonry building. For the sake of interpretation, we suppose this could be the site of the Indian Key Post Office, although this structure, like others, was used for a variety of purposes throughout the years. A private postal service was begun on the island May 21st, 1833, with Silas Fletcher serving as postmaster. The office handled mail for settlements as far north as Biscayne Bay and New River, and to the south, Kivaka, city of Marathon. It also served the wrecking vessels working the reefs. Look at these giant alloys. Do you think they brought them here, or are they native? I'm thinking that they brought them here and they just multiplied on their own. They look so cool though. And what is that bird? Sounds like some kind of falcon or something. Look at all these butterflies. As we walk along, you'll see the ruins and the plaques about these people, but it appears there were three prominent characters in the story and the history of this island. Charles Howe and his family, he lived there on the island. He had a house with little cottages, slaves on the island. So did Jacob Houseman. He had slaves on the island living with them at the time. Here's another plaque. Charles Howe, his wife, and 5 children resided at this location during the 1800s. Mr. Howe served as the tiny town's postmaster and port collector. The home was a simple structure with gardens and, according to one map, even had a family cemetery. At this site, quite a number of animal and fish bones, shells, and other artifacts have indicated that this is the most likely spot of the Howe's kitchen house. I can't get over all the butterflies. It's so magical. Okay, that's where we came from. Let's finish off this. And we would have crossed the island with this path. It is a pretty tiny island. Okay, another path. Another plaque. Dr. Henry Perrine's family home. Although no ruins are left, artifacts found on this beach have established that the house in which the Perrine family lived stood here at the water's edge. Throughout the area are Spanish bayonet plants, the current descendants of a prickly fence that had been carefully planted by Dr. Perrine. The house was 3 stories, making it the second tallest structure on the island. Much of the information we have about Indian Key comes from the writings of 2 of the 3 Perrine children who lived here at the time, Hester and Henry Jr. There's Nick coming. And it would have been so cool to see this place with all the buildings and the structures the way they were. The carpenter shop and blacksmith's forge. This is the area where these features were located. The carpenter shop was thought to have been owned and operated by James Glass. Carpenters in the 1830s were responsible for the creation and repair of houses, ships, furniture, and tools. James Glass is credited with alerting the other residents of Indian Key during the morning of the attack. John F. Beaglet may have been the blacksmith. Blacksmiths during this era were extremely important. Not only did they create most cooking implements, building, farming, and gardening tools, but in many communities they even served as dentists. Wow. Most of the activity on the island probably centered around the repair of ships damaged on the reefs. The actual location of the shop was on a piece of land that has since eroded away. The wharves. 3 large wharves stretched seaward from here, the northeastern side of the island. The water at that time was deep enough for sailing vessels to dock with ease. Archaeologists found grooves in the bedrock which probably supported dock beams. The wharves provided for the docking of vessels and unloading of salvaged goods. Okay.
Poison wood. Okay.
Poison wood? There was Jacob Houseman, who was the owner of the island, the businessman that was involved in wrecking. Didn't have a good reputation. He persuaded government officials to name Indian Key as the county seat of Dade County. At the time, the United States had been fighting the Seminole tribe of Florida for years. And so in 1840, the Second Seminole War had already been going on, and that is when the attack happened in August of 1840. Okay, here's something else. Jacob and Elizabeth Houseman's home. Is this the main character of the island?
Mm-hmm.
The Houseman home was described as a large and elegant mansion with 2 stories and a cupola for watching the sea for wrecks or returning husbands. Like many of the structures built on the island, it had a stone foundation on which a larger wooden frame house rested. What does that say? Look how pretty the water looks.
Yeah.
Hey, what is this? It's a plaque that says 3rd Street and Northwest Street. So this says Jacob Houseman's grave. Jacob Houseman lost nearly everything as a result of the attack and soon after left for Key West. To survive, Houseman began where he started, operating a salvage vessel. On May 1st, 1841, while attempting to board a wrecked ship in a tumultuous sea, he slipped and fell between the hulls. He was crushed to death. Ms. Houseman brought his body home to Indian Key for burial. Unfortunately, the original grave was vandalized. The marker you see here is a replica of the original, which now lies on nearby Lignum Vitae Key. This tombstone was erected on February 3rd, 1986, by the Historic Florida Keys Preservation Board to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Dade County.
So he's buried here?
Which way do you want to go? Down 3rd Street or keep on walking around? Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's like really nice water.
Yeah.
Come swimming here.
Tea Table Key, which is straight ahead. It's for sale right now. Tea Table Key, supposedly named for a tea table shaped tree that stood on its point, is located directly in front of you, a bit more than a mile away. If you were standing in the same location 160 years ago, you might hear the sounds of military exercises being carried out by the U.S. Navy's regional headquarters that was stationed there under the command of Lieutenant John T. McLaughlin. After the attack on Indian Key, the Navy took over the island, reconstructed many of the ruined buildings, built cisterns and a hospital. Lieutenant McLaughlin and his family supposedly made a home here as well. The last thing that I saw for sale online was 2019 for $17 million. I don't know if you can see it really well. Can't really see the screen either because the sun's in my eyes, but it's right there on the edge. There's going to be a sign right here for Tea Table Key, right there. That's the entrance. That's for sale. And there it is. That's the island, Tea Table Key, and the road that they made to the highway. And the third main character of the story of the island is Dr. Perrine. This one was the one that I found the most interesting, just because his life story and just his really tragic ending. He was a doctor and a botanist that had moved to Indian Key after, I think it was about 12 years in Mexico in the Yucatan, collecting plants that could be used in the United States. Warehouse complex. In front of you is what remains of the largest building on the island and the hub of Houseman's wrecking activities. A large cistern existed beneath the 3-story building that was topped with a cupola. During Houseman's day, salvage goods were stored here. Archaeological investigations have yielded fragments of china, glass, clothing, and much more. There's also strong evidence that proves the structure was used again and again throughout the decades. There's a bunch of fragments of brick, or maybe they had cobblestone pathways or something. And there's a little bench here. Got a bunch of trash. Maybe somebody collected all the trash out of the water or something. I don't know. Here's a little section of bricks. Or maybe this is like chimneys that they had. I don't know if they would need fireplaces up here or what, but it's crazy how people lived here and worked here, and now it's just completely ruined, completely gone. Oh, here's some more bricks just laying here. Oh, there's another thing here. Another structure. Senator English's kitchen house cistern. This area is thought to have been owned by territorial Senator William English. The ruins appear to be that of a cistern that may have been situated between a detached frame house. Kitchen buildings were commonly separated from the main houses for protection from the heat and the danger of fire. Look at all those. I think they're yuccas actually. Anyway, there's so many of them. There's some more bricks right here. And he sent plants and seeds back over to Charles Howe, that was the postmaster on Indian Key. He also did planting on Metacumbe Key, but he ended up getting onto Indian Key, and his family lived there for 20 months before the Indian attacked and before he was killed. He had 3 children. Hester, Sarah, and Henry Jr. Hester wrote a book, and I just wanted to read you some of that. She was 16 years old at the time they got to the island, and she wrote the book 45 years later, so the memory wasn't as fresh, but I wanted to read you some of the book. She does show animosity towards the natives. Obviously, they murdered her father, and she does show a little bit of animosity towards the slaves. Oh wow, there's a whole open area.
What is this? Cellar?
Mystery feature. This expanse is the town square. In front of you is a large, deep opening. At this time, we honestly don't know what it is. Several experts have speculated, but it is still a mystery.
I'm thinking it's a cellar. You know? Because like deep into the ground, they put like food or keep it cool.
Yeah. Yes, let's go. He was awarded a piece of land in South Florida, and they prepared to move there. Because of the Seminole War that had broken out, he was advised that it wouldn't be safe to go on his land that he was granted. So he had a friend, Charles Howe, that he's sent plant specimens and seeds over to from Mexico. So they decided to go to Indian Key and remain there until they could go onto their land that they were granted. Look at these giant yuccas. To get underneath stuff. Alligator Lighthouse. 3 miles offshore is beautiful Alligator Reef and Lighthouse. Indian Key was selected as a work depot for the lighthouse's construction in 1870. Every strike of the steam engine's 2,000-pound hammer drove the pilings only an inch into the coral rock. It was backbreaking work in hard conditions, but the lighthouse was completed by the mid-1870s. Today, it continues to protect passing vessels from the shallow coral bed where it stands. So let's go check out Alligator Lighthouse. And where is it? I guess we have to walk farther. I have to be careful on these not to twist your ankle on these rocks. Is it? I thought you could see a lighthouse on the pictures. Maybe it's that way. Let's keep on walking that way. Ow! These are so sharp. Coral rocks. Look at these cool succulent type plants. I guess all this probably overgrew. They put a bench here and you can't hardly see anything anymore.
Had 50 people living here. And workers.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Just to live here for a couple weeks, a couple months. A little tiny village on an island. I think, is this boxwood?
Maybe.
They probably had a boxwood hedge all the way around or something.
Maybe that's what fence like this too.
Maybe it's something else. It looks like boxwood at least. What is this? Restricted area. The concept of a town square is actually derived from an ancient Roman design. In those early days, it was referred to as the Forum. Important government buildings such as courts of law and offices were built around it, and market stalls were sometimes set up inside. It was the center of the city where people met and conducted business. This idea has since been applied to cities, towns, and villages all over the world, and the town square in the 19th century was a very important feature of any well-built town. It was the place to meet friends, hold meetings, trade goods, discuss the news of the day, and it provided a common area for strolling, games, and special events. Yeah, they have, oh my gosh, look at all these butterflies. What kind of plant is this? They're attracted to it. It has some little white flowers. There's so many butterflies on here. Beautiful. Yeah, they probably had these hedges all along the walkways. It looks like boxwood to me, but it might be wrong. Let me know in the comments what that is. Because it's all lined on the walkways here around the town square. Whew. Hot. Setting the scene. The town of Indian Key thrived during the years 1821 to 1840 and became the Dade County seat in 1836. The territory of Florida was the new frontier, and the Florida Keys offered a gold rush as it attracted men to wrecking. The salvaging of distressed ships caught on the coral reefs. In 1831, a young sea captain, John Jacob Houseman, purchased the few buildings that existed on the key and began the establishment of his own wrecking port. His empire was destroyed by an Indian attack in 1840. So here is Hester writing. Then my father decided to go to Indian Key and remain there until we could go onto his land, as there was already established there one of his depots of plants sent from Yucatan and under the care of Mr. Charles Howe. We sailed from New York the first week in December 1838 and landed at Indian Key on Christmas morning. As soon as our vessel came to anchor, Mr. Howe came on board, and in his boat we were landed. I cannot forget our delight on first seeing this beautiful little island of only 12 acres. It was truly a gem of the ocean. The trees were many of them covered with morning glories of all colors, while the waving palms, tamarinds, pawpaws, guavas, seaside grape trees, and many others too numerous to mention made it seem to us like fairyland, coming as we did from the midst of snow and ice. Our 20 months of life there was a very peculiar one. We were shut out from all social life with the exception of the family of Mr. Howe. For amusements, we often went over to Lower Matacumbe with Father when he spent the day there attending to his plants. We had no church, but every Sabbath evening we would go over to Mr. Howe's and spend the evening singing to their delight and that of the slaves who used to gather about the doors and windows. Thus, in a pleasant and primitive way, we passed nearly 2 years. The front of the house rested upon the land, while the house itself was built over the sea upon a stone wall, and around that was another wall, leaving a moat around the house on 3 sides. The going down of the moon is the only knowledge we have of the hour of the massacre, and this was about 2 o'clock in the morning. A sailor who lived upon the island, being very restless, thought he would take his gun and stroll around the island, thinking he might come across some ducks. As he was on the east side, he suddenly came upon the Indians, 200 in number, creeping carefully along by Captain Houseman's garden, their evident intention being to surround the occupied houses before being discovered. Had they accomplished this, not a soul would have been spared to tell the tale. Realizing the situation at once, the sailor raised his gun and fired among them, giving at the same time an alarming war whoop. The Indians separated at once and made a rush for the two largest houses on the island, Captain Houseman's and ours. We were aroused from our sleep by the terrific war whoop, simultaneously with the crack of rifles and the falling of the glass from our broken windows. I saw this terrific crowd of Indians dancing and whooping like demons from the flash of their rifles. My father told us to go down into the bathroom and he would see what he could do. With a martyr's heroism, he went out upon the piazza and called to them in Spanish, "I am a physician, and I will go with you to heal your people." Upon this, they gave a great shout and left the house. Father came down then and closed the trapdoor, telling us to go into the narrow passageway, for if we remained in the cellar, the Indians might see us through the openings. He then drew a heavy chest of seeds over the door, concealing every trace of its existence. He had scarcely accomplished this when the Indians returned, and with their tomahawks, commenced battering down the door and breaking in the windows, having apparently given up their intention of sparing him. The Tropical Hotel flourished on this site and was one of the island's more prominent dwellings. It was said to have had convenient and comfortable quarters with good fare, food, attentive servants, and moderate charges. It was well supplied with comforts and pastimes. James John Audubon was one of the most famous visitors to the island's resort. Several of his paintings were created from images he collected during his stays. There's no ruins at all of it, it's just gone. Okay, so that was the town square.
Yes, let's go see what that thing is up front.
Wow. Ooh, what is this? Small circular cistern. You have now entered an area that seems to have been built upon again and again over the past 150 years. The circular cistern in front of you is not shown on the maps drawn by Charles Howe and Henry Perrine Jr., which leads archaeologists to believe that it was constructed a bit later during the Navy's occupation of Indian Key. Since there were no freshwater wells on Indian Key, rainwater was captured in cisterns like these, which were placed near or under houses. Rainwater was collected through troughs from the roof and run off into these holding tanks. This cistern and the other two located off 3rd Street provided water for drinking, cooking, and medicinal needs. Wow. So they did the original rain catchment system.
Yeah.
Ooh, some shade. Oh, it feels so good in the shade. What is this? Tamarind grove. The domestic tamarind trees in this pleasant, shady grove were planted here and are not native to the island. Their large branchings support feathery-looking leaves and unusual fuzzy white pom-pom type flowers. The fruit is a 4 to 6 inch long flat pod with a tart but edible pulp. Pods usually stay on the tree until the following year, unless harvested commercially for products. You may have eaten tamarind and not even realized it. One of the most popular items that contains its flavor is steak sauce. The tree, like many native trees, can survive saltwater intrusions and is strong enough to endure hurricane-force winds. Resting? It's really hot.
Yeah,
It's so nice here in the shade of the tamarind trees.
100 pounds.
How beautiful is this little grove? Probably somebody's garden. This area was one of the main residential neighborhoods of Jacob Houseman's Indian Key. It included 4 house, kitchen, cistern lots, and the town store. Archaeological investigations have revealed that the use of these foundations extended far beyond the 1840s and served a longer duty for those residents who made Indian Key home after the attack. These foundations are thought to be the lots that were occupied by the Smith and Sturdy families. These are so tiny though, these little cottages. Oh, this one's filled with water. I don't know, they're probably about 15 feet by 25 or 30. They're not that big. Look at all those pods up there. Father fled to the cupola. We think hoping that he might be able from there to see help coming from the naval depot, and that, as the door was a heavy one, he might be able to hold out until relief came. Oh, look, we didn't even get to that cistern.
Oh, yeah.
There's a cistern over there. There's a huge one right here. Looking out from this spot nearly 200 years ago, you would be at the same height as the Perrine's cupola and the 3rd story of Houseman's warehouse. Today, you can see Alligator Lighthouse in the distance, marking the reef where dozens of ships ran aground and required assistance. East, you are viewing Upper Matacumbe Key and Tea Table Key, where McLaughlin and his troops made ready for war on the remaining Seminole Indians and where many sought relief from yellow fever in the Navy Hospital. Below is the approximate location of Houseman's successful general store that grossed over $30,000 one year during the 1830s. Lower Mitakum Key stretches out to the west, where fresh water ran abundantly and nursery beds of a multitude of tropical plants flourished under the careful hand of Dr. Perrine. From this vantage point, Indian Key is probably not so different as it was then. The smells of the ocean, the sound of the wind rustling the palm fronds, and the silhouettes of pelicans, seagulls, and cormorants dark against the brilliant blue of the tropical sky. That's a pretty description at the end. From this angle, it probably did look like it was back then. That's a huge one over there.
Yeah.
You can see the town square in the distance past the cistern. For a few moments, as they swarmed up the stairs after him, there was a horrid silence, only broken by the blows of their tomahawks upon the door. Then a crash, one wild shriek, a rifle shot, and all was still. We found the bird's nest of the bird that's been making all the noise. Here's probably the mother. There found to our great delight that nearly all of the inhabitants had escaped. There had been 70 souls on the island, and of these there were but 13 missing. The Indians, by attacking the 2 larger houses first, has given the others a chance to get to their boats, and of course all had steered for this schooner. I'm at the dock that's closed off. You can't even tie off your to the ladders. The waves are crazy out here. This is definitely deeper water out in the ocean right now, so I'm not very comfortable being out here. It's definitely more calmer over there. But I just wanted to get a shot of all these because they usually fly away from you when you're in the water by them, but I was able to paddle up all the way up to there, and they don't really fly away from you here, so I'll get up closer for you guys to get some shots of those. Okay, I floated all the way out here, so I think that's going to be the end of our Indian Key adventure. We're going to start heading back. Yeah, the waves by the dock are a little bit more like ocean waves. The waves out there where we were paddling weren't as bad anymore because it's more shallow. But I mean, you're out in the ocean out here. There's nothing past this Indian Key, no more islands, so. Alright, let's head back. It's been a good one. The day before we went on board, Lieutenant Rogers took my brother and me over to Indian Key, as I hoped I might be able to rescue some memento that the Indians might have dropped. But I found nothing but a few water-soaked books, which are now treasured mementos. Mr. Howe had had the marl raked, and there found all that was left of father's remains, a thigh bone, a few ribs, and a portion of the skull. These he wrapped in a paper and laid them in my hands. I desired him to have them suitably enclosed in a box and buried under the broad, spreading leaves of one of father's own agave sibilanas at our garden on Lower Matacumbe, as being the most suitable place for their resting place.